Salceda and I differ. Because in my thinking, we can address the political issue, the diplomatic issue, without including the economic issue. And one of the best examples of this is how China and Taiwan are relating with each other. China is always threatening to annex by force Taiwan. China is always talking of thousands of missiles aimed at Taiwan. But at the same time, Taiwanese are investing in China. We are talking of billions of dollars worth of trade between China and Taiwan. And I understand that among the biggest investors in China are Taiwanese businessmen. So in this particular case, they are able to separate the two issues, the economic issue from the political and even military issue. I would like to cite another study by Benito Lim. I think we are all familiar with Benito Lim, no? The Political Economy of Philippines-China Relations. Here, he wrote about what happened after the Mischief Reef incident in 1995 up to June 1998, and what Benito Lim said, and he presented this as a Philippine epic study as part of this as a discussion paper in the Philippine Epic Study Center network. When he said that even while the Mischief Reef issue was smoldering, China opened over 100 enterprises with a total investment of over $140 million. And then at the height of the Mischief Reef controversy, when the Philippines threatened to internationalize the issue, two of the largest corporations in China set up subsidiaries in the Philippines. The Haier Group of China, and then you have the China National Technical Import and Export Corporation. And then the conclusion of the study is that it is clear that from 1995 to 1998 trade and investment data that bad political relations such as the conflict over the Scarborough Shoal and the Mischief Reef did not lead automatically to bad business relations. This is where Benito Lim, agreed to by Roilo Golez, would be in conflict with the position of Governor Salceda.
Remember that those are 1999?
Yes, I realize that, but history repeats itself. Something like that.
I will have the data and it will show you.
Okay, now let's talk of the mutual, by the way, the statement of Benito Lim with respect to trade relations, with respect to the participation of businessmen, and also the statement of PCCI President Francis Chua would sound familiar if you have read a very recent bestseller by George Spratlys, The Next 100 Years. This is a brand new international bestseller. George Spratlys, as some people know, is the founder of Ilustrado. In his best-selling book, Spratlys said that he does not expect any major conflict between China and the United States in the next 100 years. And the reason for that is because of the very good trade relationship between China and the United States. He said that in case of a conflict like that, the businessmen, both American businessmen and Chinese businessmen who are doing very well, who never had it so good as far as business is concerned, would intervene. And we all know that businessmen have the capacity to intervene in the formulation of government policy. U.S. businessmen have their contacts in the U.S. Congress and the White House, and of course Chinese businessmen have their own contacts in their own government as well. So it is the businessmen who will be the pacifier and who would prevent a conflict similar to the conflict that happened between Japan and the United States at the start of the Second World War, when the United States started to constrict trade between Japan and the U.S. to the detriment of Japanese national interests, when they stopped the export of scrap iron, for example, and other vital commodities that affected very much the economy of Japan. At that time, there was no such huge business infrastructure linking Japan and the United States in the same way that it is now. So there is basis in the suggestion of Francis Chua to allow businessmen to come into the picture to resolve the issue while state diplomats are trying to resolve the issue. And now going to state diplomats, I would like to end by saying that in this particular case, we should not allow the state diplomats to be alone here. I believe that there is also another kind of diplomacy that is very important and can be even more effective. And this is what I call public diplomacy. What is public diplomacy? This is where the public will get into the picture. And when we say public, we include even political figures, Governor Salceda, Congressman Golez, businessmen, editors, columnists, etc., who would have to say something about the conflict, especially in relation to China. Vietnam utilized this very effectively in their dealings with the United States. In the 1973 Paris negotiations, for example, while with respect to state diplomacy, it was a giant against a small country, the Vietnamese were able to utilize very effectively public diplomacy by articulating their points in the public fora, Newsweek, Time Magazine, all kinds of fora. And in our particular case, we can bring the issue to a lot of fora. And right now, this is being picked up by international media, which is good because we can drive home the point that there's a bully in our neighborhood who is misbehaving. And I believe that while China is emerging as a very powerful country, they're also very sensitive about their international image. And this is where we can hurt them the most. We can focus our attacks on portraying them as a bully, not behaving as a responsible, powerful country. We can take this to the Japanese diet. The Japanese are very interested in this. The Australian Parliament, New Zealand Parliament, US Congress, and all kinds of other fora. And I think this is where we can be very effective. The state diplomats can talk about UNCLOS, they can talk about ASEAN, they can talk about the code of conduct, but people like members of Congress, senators, congressmen, business leaders, opinion makers can resort to public diplomacy in order to address an issue in an area which can hurt China the most, and that is with respect to their desire also to portray themselves as a responsible country, in other words, their international image. So, ilan po ang aking masasabi.